My wedding reception looked perfect until a manager pulled me aside the next morning and played a video he said I needed to see. "Hi, I'm Logan Mercer, 29, and the morning after my wedding, an Italian restaurant manager called me and said, 'We rechecked the security footage. You need to see this yourself. Come alone, and don't tell your wife.'" The timing was so wrong it felt like a prank from the universe. Because 5 minutes before that call, I was lying in bed next to my wife, Ava, still wearing her wedding day mascara smudges like war paint, still glowing in that exhausted, happy way that makes you believe love can survive seating charts and distant relatives. Our hotel room smelled like hairspray and champagne and the leftover cake we swore we wouldn't eat in bed. We ate it in bed. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. My brain was still in married man mode, meaning, I have a wife now, I am responsible, and I should stop answering random calls like I'm a teenager with bad impulse control. But I picked up anyway. "Mr. Mercer?" a man asked. "Yeah," I said, voice rough. "If this is about my car's extended warranty, I'm already emotionally committed to my wife and can't handle another long-term relationship." There was a pause, like he didn't know whether to laugh or hang up. "This is Dante Veri," he said finally, "the manager at Luz Verde, the restaurant where you held your reception last night." That sentence snapped me awake. "Oh, hi. Everything okay? Did we break something? Because my cousin Connor danced on a chair at one point and I'm not proud of it." "Sir," Dante said, and his voice was so flat it erased my jokes midair. "We reviewed the security footage again this morning. There's something you need to see." My stomach tightened. "Is this about Connor?" "It's not about the chairs," he said. I waited. I could hear faint restaurant sounds behind him, metal clinks, distant voices, the normal rhythm of a place opening for the day. Somehow that made it worse. Like this horrible thing existed in the middle of ordinary life. Then he lowered his voice. "Please come to the restaurant as soon as you can. Come alone. And do not tell your wife about this call." Ava stirred beside me, half asleep, one arm flung across the pillow like she was claiming territory. I stared at her and felt my throat go dry. "Why can't I tell her?" I asked. "I can't explain over the phone," Dante said. "But if you mention this to anyone before you see it, it could complicate things." "Complicate things? On the morning after your wedding? Complicate things? Feels like hearing someone say, 'By the way, we found a snake in your honeymoon luggage.'" "Okay," I said, because my mouth moved before my brain could debate it. "I'll come. Use the side entrance on Bellamy Street," Dante said. "Ask for me. And I'm sorry. Truly." The call ended. I sat there staring at my phone, waiting for it to buzz again with the punchline. Nothing happened. "No. Just kidding. No. You've been pranked by your groomsmen." Just silence, and the soft sound of Ava breathing. Ava blinked awake. "Who was that?" I lied faster than I ever lied in my life. Venue stuff," I said. "They think we forgot something. Like the guest book." She squinted at me. "At 7 in the morning? Apparently the guest book is very emotional and needed closure," I said, forcing a smile. She yawned, cuddled into my shoulder, and mumbled, "Okay. Don't take long. I want pancakes and newlywed laziness." I kissed her forehead and told myself I would keep her world clean. Just for a little longer. Until I knew what the hell this was. 20 minutes later I was driving back to Luz Verde with cold coffee sloshing in the cup holder, and my wedding ring feeling heavier than it had any right to feel. The city looked normal. People walked dogs. A jogger passed me at a crosswalk like nobody's life was about to crack open. When I reached the restaurant, the windows were dark. The "open" sign wasn't lit yet. I parked, palms sweaty on the steering wheel, and stared at the building like it might confess something if I stared hard enough. I found the side entrance Dante mentioned, a plain door tucked near the dumpsters and delivery crates. I knocked. The door opened immediately. Dante stood there in a crisp black shirt, looking like a man who hadn't slept and had regrets in his bones. Mid-40s, tired eyes, the kind of calm that comes from handling disasters quietly. "Mr. Mercer," he said, stepping aside. "Thank you for coming quickly." I tried to sound steady. "What is this about?" He looked down the hallway, then back at me. "I want you to see it first," he said. "Then you can decide what to do with it." That sentence landed wrong. Not like a mistake. Like a warning. He led me through the empty dining room. Chairs were flipped upside down on tables. The soft lighting from last night was gone, replaced by harsh morning brightness that made everything look too honest. We passed the bar where my friends had toasted to forever, with expensive whiskey. We passed the corner where Ava's dad had cried into a napkin and pretended it was allergies. We passed the exact spot where Ava and I had danced, smiling like idiots, thinking we were safe. Dante opened a small office door in the back. A computer monitor sat on a desk. A paused security video filled the screen. The timestamp in the corner read, 8:12 p.m. Dante pulled out a chair. "Please sit." I didn't realize my legs were shaking until I tried to bend them. On the screen, I saw myself in my tux, laughing, arm around Ava, looking like the luckiest man alive. And in the background, partly hidden near the bar, someone I recognized immediately was standing with a phone raised, recording. My chest tightened. Because the person holding the phone wasn't a stranger. It was my mother. Dante's voice came soft, careful. "Mr. Mercer," he said, hand hovering over the mouse. "I need you to watch this very carefully." He clicked play. And my perfect wedding started moving again, only now it looked like the beginning of something else entirely. The video rolled in silence, no audio, just bodies moving like ghosts. My mother, Diana Mercer, stood near the bar with that polite smile she wore like armor. The same smile she used at PTA meetings. The same smile she used when she told people she was just concerned, right before she ruined someone's life. Her phone was angled carefully, not sloppy like a proud mom filming her son's wedding. This wasn't sentimental. This was targeted. Dante paused the footage and pointed at the corner of the screen. "Look here," he said. At first, I didn't understand what I was supposed to see. Then I noticed who she was filming. Ava's sister. Renee Caldwell. Renee had been Ava's maid of honor, sharp, funny, the kind of woman who could make a room feel safer just by being in it. She'd flown in from out of state, taken time off work, helped Ava plan everything. She'd given a speech that made half the guests cry and the other half pretend they weren't crying. And now, in the footage, Renee was standing alone near the cocktail tables, scrolling on her phone, not bothering anyone. My mother moved through the crowd like she had a mission, still recording. She stopped in front of Renee. Renee looked up and smiled politely. Because that's what you do when your new brother-in-law's mom approaches you at a wedding. Diana leaned in, speaking. Renee's smile faded a little. She glanced around, uneasy. Then my mother gently guided her toward a quieter area, near the hallway that led to the kitchen, away from the noise, away from witnesses. I felt my throat tighten. Dante fast-forwarded, stopping at a new timestamp, 8:37 p.m. "Now watch this," he said. Different camera angle. Near the men's restroom. Ava's brother, Caleb Caldwell, was talking to someone. At first I didn't recognize the guy because he was turned away from the camera. Then he shifted, and my stomach dropped. It was Mason Hart. Renee's fiancé. He'd proposed last spring. The whole family expected their wedding next year. Mason was the steady one, the calm one, the guy who brought extra chairs without being asked and always offered to help clean up. In the footage, Mason's posture was stiff, confused. Caleb, normally laid back, was animated, tense, pointing like he was presenting evidence in court. Mason's face changed in real time. Confusion, disbelief, anger. Even without sound, I could see it like subtitles across his skin. Then Mason stepped back, said something sharp, and walked away. Not storming yet. but moving like a man who was trying not to explode in public. Dante clicked to another clip. This time, Mason was weaving through the reception, scanning faces. He found Renee near the gift table. And the confrontation began. Renee lifted her hands, palms out. Wait, slow down. Mason shook his head, jaw clenched. Renee reached for him. He jerked away like her touch burned. Guests started turning. Looking. Whispering. Someone stepped in, trying to calm them. Renee's shoulders collapsed. Mason said something final, something that made Renee's face crumple, then he walked off. And Renee just stood there, frozen, like she'd been cut loose from reality. I stared at the screen until my eyes blurred. What did they tell him? I whispered. Dante didn't answer right away. He reached into a drawer and pulled out a small flash drive. We were able to recover partial audio, he said quietly, from the mic near the bar. It's not perfect, but it's clear enough. My stomach turned. There's audio? I said. Dante nodded once. Like he wished there wasn't. He plugged in the drive, clicked a file, and pressed play. Static hissed, then voices surfaced. And the voice that filled the office first was my mother's, warm, sweet, honeyed. Renee, sweetheart, you look stunning tonight. Renee laughed lightly. Thank you, Mrs. Mercer. Ava looks like a literal movie star. A pause. Then my mother again, softer. You and your sister are very close, aren't you? Yeah, Renee said, proud. Always have been. I admire that, Diana replied. Sisters who share everything. Every thought. Every secret. Renee's voice stayed friendly, but there was caution now. I guess. Then my mother's tone shifted, not dramatically, just enough to feel like a door closing. Sometimes, Diana said, that kind of closeness can get complicated. Especially when emotions get involved. Renee chuckled awkwardly. What do you mean? My mother let out a tiny sigh, like she was burdened by the truth. Oh, honey, she said gently. I hate to be the one to say it, but I've noticed the way you look at Logan. My blood went cold. Renee's voice sharpened. What? The ceremony, Diana continued calm as poison. The rehearsal dinner. Even tonight. I saw it. And I know what longing looks like. Renee sounded stunned. No, absolutely not. He's marrying my sister. I'm not judging you, Diana said, voice dripping with fake compassion. Feelings happen. But Mason deserves to know if the woman he's marrying is in love with someone else. Don't you think? The static crackled. Then Renee, breathless, angry. This is insane. You're twisting. And my mother cut in smoothly. If it's not true, then you won't mind me mentioning it, right? You won't mind if Mason hears it from someone who cares. Dante stopped the audio. Silence slammed down. My hands were clenched so tight my nails bit my palms. She set her up, I said, barely a voice. She planted the idea? Dante nodded once. Then, he said carefully, your stepfather, Ed Mercer, showed Mason an edited clip. Out of context. Enough to make it sound like Renee admitted it. I stared at him. Why are you showing me this? I asked, though I already knew the answer. Dante's eyes didn't flinch. Because what they did wasn't an accident, he said. It was a strategy. My mouth went dry. And because, he added, Renee stayed here after Mason left. She locked herself in the women's restroom. One of my servers sat outside the door for 40 minutes in case she did something drastic. My vision tunneled. Renee hadn't felt sick. She hadn't needed air. She'd been ambushed. At my wedding. And I hadn't even noticed. Dante slid the flash drive across the desk toward me. This is everything we have, he said. The full footage and the recovered audio. I stared at the drive like it was a live grenade. Then Dante said the sentence that made my skin prickle. Mr. Mercer. I'm telling you because if you go home without knowing this, you'll think last night was perfect. He paused, voice lowering. And that's exactly what your mother wanted. I sat in my car for nearly half an hour after leaving the restaurant. The flash drive rested in my palm like it weighed 100 pounds. I kept staring at it, half expecting it to melt through my skin or start buzzing like it was alive. My wedding ring caught the light as I clenched my fist, and the irony made my throat burn. Yesterday, I'd promised Ava forever. Today, I was holding proof that my own mother had weaponized that promise. My phone lit up. Ava, did you find the guest book? Also, pancakes are getting cold. I closed my eyes. I wanted, so badly, to protect her from this. To drive home, crawl back into bed, joke about Connor's dancing, and pretend my family wasn't capable of calculated cruelty. But I'd already crossed the line where pretending was possible. I texted back. On my way soon. Love you? Then another notification popped up. Renee Logan. I'm so sorry if I did anything wrong last night. I don't even understand what happened. Please don't be mad at me. That message broke something open in my chest. I didn't go home. I drove straight to Renee's apartment. She opened the door wearing an oversized hoodie, her eyes swollen and red, hair pulled back like she hadn't had the energy to care. The second she saw me, her composure collapsed. I swear, she said, words tumbling over each other. I never said any of that. I don't feel that way about you. I love Ava. I would never. I know, I said immediately. She froze. You know? I stepped inside and closed the door behind me, then pulled her into a hug as she started crying all over again. I saw everything, I said quietly. The footage. The audio. I know exactly what my mother did. Renee pulled back, staring at me like I'd just told her gravity stopped working. You believe me? She whispered. Every word, I said. You were set up. Her knees buckled and she sat down hard on the couch, hands covering her face. She kept asking questions. Renee sobbed. Leading questions. I thought she was being weird, but I was trying to be polite. And then Mason came at me like I'd stabbed him in the back. He said your stepdad showed him a video. A confession. My jaw tightened. It was edited, I said. Deliberately. Renee laughed once, sharp and broken. Why would she do that? What did I ever do to her? The answer had been forming in my head since I left the restaurant. Because you're Ava's person, I said. You're her anchor. If my mother could destroy your relationship with her, and with Mason, she'd isolate Ava. Make her easier to influence. Renee stared at me. That's unhinged. That's my mother, I said flatly. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Mom. Sweetheart, just checking in. Everything okay? Last night felt a bit tense near the end. I felt sick. I didn't answer. When I finally went home, Ava took one look at my face and knew something was wrong. Okay, she said slowly, setting the coffee mugs down. What happened? I told her everything. I showed her the footage. The audio. I watched her joy from yesterday crumble into horror, then rage, then something sharp and steady that scared me more than anger ever could. She did this at our wedding, Ava said quietly. She humiliated my sister. On purpose. Yes. And you're sure? Ava asked, even though she was staring straight at the proof. This isn't a misunderstanding? I wish it were, I said. But it's not. Ava sat very still. Then she said, we need to talk to Mason. And later after that, she added, and then we talked to your parents. Mason didn't argue when we asked to meet. He looked wrecked when he arrived, dark circles under his eyes, guilt written into every line of his face. He barely touched his coffee as I slid the laptop across the table and played everything. By the end, his hands were shaking. I accused her, he said hoarsely. I said things I can't take back. She forgave you for listening, Ava said gently. But you're going to have to earn back her trust. I will, Mason said immediately. If she'll let me. She did. Slowly. Carefully. But she did. The confrontation with my parents happened 3 days later. They walked into our apartment smiling, carrying flowers and leftovers like nothing was wrong. My mother's smile vanished the second the video started. By the time the audio finished, the room was suffocatingly quiet. "I was protecting you," my mother said finally, voice cracking. "That girl was too involved in your marriage. You tried to destroy her life," Ava said, calm and lethal. "At my wedding." My stepfather stared at the floor. "You crossed the line," I said. "And now you live with the consequences." "What consequences?" my mother snapped. I didn't raise my voice. "Limited contact. No access to our private lives. And if we ever have children, you will not be alone with them. Ever." Her face crumpled. "You're choosing her over me?" "No," I said. "I'm choosing reality over manipulation." Life didn't magically fix itself after that. But it got cleaner. Quieter. Safer. Renee and Mason rebuilt something stronger than before. Ava and I learned what partnership actually means. And my mother? She lost control. Not with a scream or a dramatic exit, but with boundaries. Which, for someone like her, was the harshest consequence of all. The day after my wedding didn't feel like a honeymoon. It felt like a reckoning. And somehow, it was the day my real marriage actually began. The weeks that followed were quiet in a way that felt unfamiliar. Not peaceful, quiet like a house after a storm, when you're still finding cracks in the walls you didn't know were load-bearing. My mother tried, at first. She sent long messages that looked like apologies but read like negotiations. I was scared. "You know how much I love you." I only did what I thought was best. Every sentence had an invisible but at the end of it. I didn't respond. Ava didn't ask me to. She never pushed. That was the difference between love and control. I was finally learning to feel it in my bones. Renee started therapy. So did Mason. Not together at first. They needed to rebuild themselves before rebuilding us. When they finally began couples sessions, Renee told Ava something that stuck with me. "I realized I'd been trained to doubt myself the second someone spoke with authority," she said. "And your mother speaks like authority." That sentence haunted me. Because she was right. My mother didn't yell. She didn't threaten. She suggested. She framed lies as concern. She didn't shove people off cliffs, she guided them toward the edge and waited for gravity to do the rest. And I had mistaken that for love my entire life. Ava and I set rules for our marriage that night. Real ones. Not the poetic vows we'd spoken under soft lights and music, but the practical kind. No secrets, to keep the peace. No loyalty to family over truth. No excusing harm because it came wrapped in good intentions. If someone hurt one of us, they hurt both of us. That rule saved us more times than I can count. 6 months later, Mason proposed again. This time, it wasn't dramatic. No audience. No speeches. Just the two of them on a hiking trail they used to walk every Sunday before everything fell apart. He got down on one knee with shaking hands and said, "I choose you, without doubt this time." Renee said yes. Ava cried harder than she did at our own wedding. I stood there holding both of them, realizing something quietly monumental. My mother had tried to destroy a family before it even fully formed. And she failed. As for my parents, distance became the new normal. Short visits. Public places. Clear boundaries. My mother behaved. Mostly. But something fundamental had shifted. She no longer directed the room. She observed it. She measured her words. She asked permission instead of assuming access. Control replaced by caution. Not because she changed completely, but because she had lost leverage. And that mattered. One evening, nearly a year later, Ava and I were cleaning up after dinner. She rinsed plates. I dried. Out of nowhere, she said, "Thank you." "For what?" I asked. "For choosing truth," she said. Even when it hurt. Even when it cost you the version of your mother you thought you had. I thought about that. About the wedding. The phone call. The footage. The lie that almost shattered us. I didn't lose my mother, I said slowly. I lost an illusion. Ava smiled at me like she already knew. People talk about weddings like they're the beginning. But that wasn't true for us. The ceremony was beautiful, but it was the day after, when comfort disappeared and honesty demanded courage, that defined everything that came next. That was when we chose each other not out of joy, but out of principle. And that choice? That's the one that lasted.